Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Aparuta de sangamatassa tawara esodavanta bamunjantu satang. So at this moment, just to encourage you all to listen to the silence. And so the path of liberation is returning to the silence of the here and now. So at every moment of our lives in these forms is when we don't listen to silence, we just listen to the thoughts in our mind, our emotional feelings of the moment, and then we suffer. So in the Buddhist teaching, the whole emphasis is, the first part is very reasonable, to question, to investigate. Like when we talk about Dhamma Vijayo, it means to find out, investigate. Silence is here and now. We don't create it. It's uncreated. But what we might hear in the present moment is our own doubts, our thoughts, I don't hear any silence, or silence doesn't, you can't hear it. It's because silence is silence. And so we get caught in doubt or speculation, which is not Dhamma Vicaya, it's not investigating the reality of here and now. It's just merely operating from wanting to figure it out with the habit patterns of your thoughts, rather than with awareness, conscious awareness. So the reasonable side of Buddha Dhamma is to explore, investigate, experiment. When I talk about sound of silence, is it really a sound? Does it have a beginning and ending? Like sounds all arise and cease. They can't sustain themselves for very long. So, sound of silence is just an expression of silence. So when we seek silence as something that we've got to find, like stop mowing the lawn, don't make thunder, don't slam doors, shut up and don't disturb me kind of demands on life, and so that we can experience silence. But even behind the noise, the chatter, all the things that go on in this world of change, is the background, the substratum, that all sounds, all noise, pleasant or unpleasant, arise and cease. And it's up to each one of you to realize this for yourself. You can listen to these Dhammadesanas for years and still be caught in doubt. So doubt, what is the cause of doubt is thinking. So in the third of the 10 fetters, the third fetter is called vicikicca, which means doubt, translated into English as doubt. And if you stop thinking, there's doubt. You know the silence. But if you try to stop thinking as an egotistical act of trying to just suppress the noise, you can't recognize the silence because you're just operating from ignorance and the sense of yourself as a physical body that's trying to shut down the noise of the world that is annoying you. But once you begin to notice the silence that is the substratum, the basis for everything, it's implied in the third noble truth of Nirodha, the end of suffering, where thoughts cease, where everything ceases. And that you can realize for yourself. But as long as you try to find it as an object, you're still operating from ignorance rather than in just a faith in the Dhamma, just witnessing. So in the Buddhist teaching, it's anatta, the third characteristic of existence, anatta, no self. And so you can take that as a doctrine, doctrinal statement. There's absolutely no self. And so then that ends up with a kind of nihilistic or annihilationist attitude. It's just all empty phenomena. There's no self. We can repeat those words over and over. But what is the self that we operate from? The first fetter of Sakya Ditti is the thoughts we create, the memories we cling to of our past, the identity we have, the attachment we have to the body. And the body is in terms of Dhamma, is an empty phenomenon. So we can believe that it is an empty phenomenon because the Buddha said so, but in the Buddhist teaching there's no belief that you grasp. It's all pointing. They're all pointers for investigation. So, I've heard Buddhists say you have to believe there's no self. And, they make doctrinal statements. Even Buddhists in Thailand make doctrinal statements that you have to believe in rebirth and karma and there's no self, which is taking the Buddha's words as doctrinal statements rather than directional signs. So that's the first truth of suffering. There is suffering. Some people say, I don't suffer, I'm a happy person. It's because that, that is one way of defining yourself as a person that's happy. But so much of life isn't happy in terms of the changing conditions. Let's face it, it's not just one happy moment after another. And so just trying to be happy as an identity is a kind of hopeless task because it's going to be very disappointing when you no longer can hold that illusion of being happy as a person. Because the body is a condition that is caught in the momentum of its karmic habits. That gets old, gets sick, and dies. So notice doctrine is imposed on you, is something that you have to believe in, or you're a sinner, or you're wrong. So what is belief? You know, we believe in democracy, and we believe in God, or we believe there isn't any God, or we believe in Buddhism, or we believe in Theravada Buddhism, or we believe in Zen Buddhism, but the belief is not wrong, it's not right or wrong, but it is taking something given to you that's not unnatural. A belief is our words. Beliefs are words that you accept or reject. So this is what ignorance really is, avijja, or ignorance of the way things are. We're caught in beliefs about what's right and wrong, good or bad, believing in God or believing no, there isn't any God. So, when you investigate beliefs, there's so many beliefs caught up just in our conventional conditioning, belief in democracy or fairness and justice, belief in that right is that what's right, and we believe what's wrong. So we have in present day modern society in countries like the United States strong beliefs in what's absolutely right and what's wrong. So belief in right and wrong, if investigated, if witnessed to, you realize right, the sense of righteousness or right itself, is a belief. You're told, you're kind of conditioned, programmed when you're an innocent child, taking on the beliefs of your parents, of your social position, your gender identity, and all that. You believe because you're told to believe in these conditions, and as an innocent child, you don't know anybody, you don't have the wisdom to investigate it. You just trust that our deities are gods. Our mother is our first experience about God. She's totally dependent for survival on the mother. So then, as we grow older, we start questioning, or some people never question. They just operate from birth to death with their prejudice, bias, and beliefs. And some of them beliefs are quite good, or some are not very good at all, but they are, even the good ones, are impositions that we cling to and make judgments by, about the world, about ourselves, about each other. So investigating this clinging to beliefs, what is it that recognizes a belief? Is conscious awareness a belief? Do you believe that in conscious awareness, here and now, Is it an imposition in this tradition? The Buddha, we have to believe in conscious awareness, or is it here and now and natural? It's not, you don't learn, it's not imposed on you by some outer force. It's here and now, and from infancy to old age, consciousness is operative, it's here and now. So in taking this witness position, the Buddho, so what does that mean? You believe in Buddha, or you can just use mantras, and that is for tranquility purposes, just to calm the thinking mind down. But then in investigating, Buddho is the Thai word for Buddha. So you're taking the Buddha position, which is conscious awareness, which is natural. It's not that you have to believe that in Buddha or anything like that, because it's we can believe in Buddha. It's a very nice belief, actually, according to my judgments. But when we take refuge in Buddha or Buddho, it's much more used for investigation rather than just to promote some kind of images of Buddha and the historical Buddha and the belief systems that are evolved from Buddhist teachings. So is anatta really a doctrine or a way to investigate? What is self? And as you realize, you're free to investigate. And this like here at Tisarana, it's kind of Ajahn Viradama is very much promoting this kind of encouragement to investigate your life here, to be aware of experience, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant or whatever, it doesn't matter, but to encourage you to observe feelings of right and wrong, love and hate, and good and bad as you live your life in this sangha. So the three characteristics of existence, anicca, dukkha, anatta, suffering or unsatisfactoriness, is permanent. All conditions are impermanent. All conditions are dukkha or suffering or unsatisfactory. In this case, it's more like all conditions are unsatisfactory. And then anatta, no self. So this is, that's why I really appreciate this kind of teaching, because it gave me the encouragement to investigate my life, which I'd never received from anyone else. I was brought up in a dogmatic Christian tradition, beliefs imposed on me in a gentle way. It wasn't a tyrannical belief system, but there was no encouragement to investigate. In fact, there was discouragement. You should just believe and trust in Jesus and God, and doubting is a sin. Where in Buddhism, like, doubting is to be investigated. How does it arise? What is the cause of doubting? And when you begin to rather try to, not doubt, actually doubt should be encouraged. In fact, in like Zen Buddhism, they use doubting very much as a meditation practice. Like these koans absolutely make no sense logically. But they create not knowing. So one koan is, what was my original face before I was born? Try to work with that, with reason and logic. You have to do mental gymnastics, and every time you come up with some wise-ass answer to that question, the master slaps you with a bamboo stick. So the whole point begins to be where the thinking mind stops. When you doubt something, thinking stops. And then we try to think about the answer to the thing that's causing doubt. But what the master is really interested in is just the reality of not knowing is like this. So my early interest in Zen Buddhism, because that's where I became interested in Buddhism through the Zen teachings that were available in English in the 1950s. And then in the Pali tradition, the fetter, the third fetter of the 10 fetters that block arahantship, that bind us to samsara, the third one is doubt. And it's not that you shouldn't doubt. It's not to try to just suppress doubt, but to understand it. Doubt is natural. It's here and now and it's silent. Your thinking mind stops for a moment. So what was my original face before I was born? Then if you're aware, if you're not just caught in trying to get some intellectual answer, find it in words, you begin to notice, relax into the not knowingness of doubt, uncertainty. So doubt is a skillful means rather than some kind of something wrong with you that you've got to find the answer to the question or the solution to the problem. Another technique that I developed very much to observe the space between words. Because when to have this sense of being the witness to thinking rather than the thinker. When we get caught in thinking, then we own thinking as ourself, my thoughts, my views, my opinions. But thinking is something you learn to do after you're born. It's created through language, through concepts of right and wrong, good and bad. And you realize that all languages, English language, Thai language, or Sanskrit, or Pali, they're all creations by human beings. They're sankharas. So the word, whether anatta is a sankhara, no self is a word. It's a sankhara. So when you try to figure out anatta, no self, with a solution by thinking about it, rather than being the witness, the puto, the listener, the silent witness to the way things are in the present moment, then even the most sacred words are sankharas, they're empty phenomena. The word God is a word, it's an empty phenomenon in this way. It begins and ends. Or no God, there isn't any God, it's an empty phenomena. Or the word Buddha, the word Dhamma, the word Sangha, it's all empty phenomena, changing, arising and ceasing. So did Buddha really teach Buddhism? And I remember in Thailand, this is a great way to kind of shake people up, is saying Buddha never taught Buddhism. And Buddhism is a generic term for almost anyone who has some view about Buddha or Buddhism. And then there are devout believers in Buddhism that think a lot of people who call themselves Buddhists aren't really Buddhists. You can be a very self-righteous Theravadan Buddhist, and Mahayana, that's all proliferating. It's not the true Dhamma that we have, and no matter how conceited you may justify your position as a Theravadan Buddhist, the point is that each word that you think, whether it's kind of embracing all religions as pointing to the same reality, or just dismissing all the other religions except your own, it's all created through thought, through belief. So this witnessing position is natural to us. It's not asking you to become a witness, but to trust in your ability to listen, to pay attention here and now to the way it is. It's like this. So the word Buddhism arises and ceases. You can't sustain it. It doesn't make a very good mantra. Buddhism, Buddhism, Buddhism. It is not a very kind of convenient mantra. Puto is convenient. But it also, taking it to the reality of here and now, is what you are. You're the witness to the way things are, as you experience them from where you are. So each one of us has to experience life from the karma of our human form, which is very different. In the terms of the conditions that we identify with, we're all very different people. We have many people in this room, we're all different in terms of character, habit, tendencies, fears and desires and so forth, in age, in gender, on and on, where the differences that make the problems in life. But where are we the same at this very moment? Every individual person in this room, where do we meet where we're totally one at this very moment, because on the physical level you're all separate. So when we talk about equality and things like that, there's the ideals, and then we want to make the sankharas equal, which they can never be. Sankharas are not about equality, they're about conditions changing in this incessant changingness. That's the nature of sankharas, or conditions, or phenomena. But where all problems cease, right and wrong, love and hate, good and bad, heaven and hell cease, is here and now in conscious awareness. And that's where we're one, that's where we're all equal in terms of the conditions of the bodies and so forth. We're all different. And that's where what wars are about. The present time in Ukraine, Russia and Ukraine, because they're attached to beliefs. And trying to just dominate, make everybody believe what I believe is tyranny. So we get tyrants as leaders of our various countries who just enforce their beliefs, like the communism, for example, was a belief that in Russia they tried to impose on millions of people. And communism, when you really, as an ideal, it's quite good. It's all about there's no rich or poor, everybody's equal, and everything's fair and just, and it's a very high-minded idea. But can you impose that on masses of people who see themselves always as different from each other? It becomes tyranny. So the Soviet system became tyrannical because it was using tyrannical methods to impose high-minded ideas on masses of people. And it doesn't work. There's always you have to have a secret service, a KGB, a Gestapo or something operating to try to persecute or get rid of or annihilate those troublemakers that question the beliefs that they impose on you. And that's tyranny. So then communism in the United States in the 1950s, I remember it was evil. And I remember when I was a university student at the University of Washington in Seattle, when I was taking a literature course, and I wrote a sympathetic paper on communism, and the professor told me I better be quiet because this was the McCarthy era and I could go to prison. So it was a pretty scary time when the one who absolutely, in the United States of America was supposed to have freedom of speech, being sympathetic in any way with communist ideals was very dangerous to the whole system in the United States. They wanted an enemy, and communism, as it was developed in the Soviet Union, seemed very threatening, dangerous, enemy. And so you had to see it in terms of what you're told, of propaganda, beliefs imposed on you by a system. So when you notice the space between the words, and really take an interest, it's a very easy, kind of natural way to investigate, to realize emptiness or non-self. In order to become a personality, you have to think you are your thoughts, your memories, your physical body, your beliefs, and on like that. Then you become a personality, a person, separate from other people. But in the silence between words that we think, there's no person. It's natural, it's Dhamma. It's Dhammatat, it's a natural, it's uncreated, and it's here and now. So this is a way of beginning to, it's something you have to deliberately think and be the witness to thinking, rather than just thinking about thinking, or thinking about silence, or thinking about not thinking. Because you get yourself into a real twist with thinking about not thinking, or thinking about silence. But the space between two words is like this. It's like doubt. Doubt is, there's silence there for a moment before you try to find the answer with words, or find the solution to the koan. And then I found it quite entertaining, because all the thoughts, my critical mind, my habit tendencies, I began to, rather than just make value judgments about whether they're good or bad, wholesome or unwholesome, I began to just witness the space between the words. So I could think anything, because I'm not interested in the words anymore. It could be nonsense. And still, when you're just babbling nonsense, when you stop, there's silence. And this silence is freedom from the sankharas. And you begin to really value that, trust it. So just taking the simple statement of presence with the English personal pronoun and verb, I am. Now that's not, when you recognize it, that's just a statement of presence, it's not a description of anybody. So when you think, I am, you don't define it with I am Ajahn Sumedho or anything like that, then it becomes personal. But just intentionally thinking, I am, and you're no longer interested in the words. You're not trying to associate it with anything other than just the listening to the thought I, which is one letter, one simple letter, and there you can, what comes after I? And the silence before am arises and ceases. So these two, am is just two letters. So that in this I am practice, it really was a reasonable statement, because at this moment, I am is just a way of expressing presence here and now. But there's still sankharas, the words I and am, they're empty phenomena. But what is an empty phenomena is the silence between the words. And after you've finished, well, before you start even thinking, intentionally thinking I, there's silence. That gap, that stillness, you start nourishing it, trusting it. That's what you're interested in, not in the pronoun I. That's habit. When you learn English, or you're brought up in an English-speaking society, that's just part of the learning any language is the personal pronoun. Singular is like this. So then I could, elaborate. I am Sumedho. And then you realize that Sumedho adds a kind of personal, makes me a person. It's not just an announcement of present here and now. It's an announcement of me as a person, as a physical body, as a memory, as a member of a sangha, a Buddhist monk. It brings all kinds of memories back into, I wasn't born as Sumedho. I was 31 years old when the name was given to me. And then Ajahn Sumedho, when you, in the Thai forest tradition, you get called Ajahn if you have 10 pansas. And so then Ajahn is a very nice thing to be called a teacher. It gives you status. Then you become a teacher. And some monks really like to become teachers, because that even increases the sense of somebody special. I'm an Ajahn, not just a junior monk. The whole system of hierarchical thinking takes place. So then when Luang Por Cha passed away in 1992, they kept his body to be cremated in 1993. And so then the king of Thailand at that time, Rama IX, gave me the title of Jiao Kun, Tan Jiao Kun, which is totally unexpected title that's quite high. So then you have to deal with this sense of getting getting a title, where before it was just Sumedho, and then Ajahn Sumedho, it was Nen Samanera Sumedho before, and then you become Tan Jiao Kun, which is a kind of a title given by the king of Thailand. What does that do? It increases the sense of separation or being special. I'm no longer just Ajahn Sumedho, I'm Tan Jiao Kun. And so, you just by listening to these titles given, or if you don't ever get a title, what if you nobody gives you a title, you're just Sumedho for 60 years, then you can feel, you can be proud that you just untitled, and some monks could take pride in not getting titles, and other monks feel very proud of their titles. But it's all empty phenomena, whatever the title may be. And this is to be seen for yourself. It's not to believe, just a put down of titles. They're saying rubbish, it's just Thai custom, or I don't want a title, I just want to be Bhikkhu Sumedho. Even that becomes a very conceited attitude. If you cling to, I just want to be a simple monk, I don't want to be special, it's still words creating a sense of separateness or specialness. Or even if you believe you're not special, it's still a belief. So in trying to define yourself as a person, it's a hopeless task because you don't really know who you are. Every time you decide you are is a sankhara. And sankharas are impermanent and they're phenomena. And so they're like described as soap bubbles, foam on the sea, just empty things that arise and cease with no soul, no heart, no essential quality. Just empty phenomena. And then when you meditate, when you are aware, using conscious awareness, you begin to see this for yourself. There's no Ajahn Sumedho in ultimate reality. It's just an illusory title. It's empty phenomena. Then what am I? If I'm just a accumulation of empty phenomena, what am I? What am I really? And so then this is a big doubt, is because there is this sense of presence, of just being present here and now, that pursues you through your whole life from birth to death. Because you're a phenomenal form that's present here and now, and in whatever state your body's in or wherever you happen to be. So then the whole idea of taking refuge in Buddha Dhamma Sangha begins to become more realistic and profound rather than just customary Pali chanting traditions. Taking the refuges in Buddha Dhamma Sangha can be just a mechanical, traditional way of thinking. But this witnessing, represented by Puto, because you're witnessing right now, this witnessing is natural. It's like this. So when you're experiencing me talking in this way, is like this. What does it do? What is happening? Each individual can be aware. Each individual can be aware. If I'm creating more doubt or uncertainty or about practice or challenging you on your views about practice, or whether it's inspiring you or encouraging you, you're witnessing it's like this. listening to a Desana, and when you take this position of the witness, that's not personal. It's not like you become a witness as a person. Witnessing is natural. It's presence here and now. It's being present here and now. Wherever you are, whether you're in your kuti or in a car, or you're in Ottawa or whatever, the place doesn't really matter. It's always here and now, and it's impersonal. So with this conscious awareness, you can't find, there's no person in it. To create a person, you have to think. This silence, sound of silence, there's no personality arising in it, unless I start thinking about myself as a person, or somebody else as a person. And I don't create silence. It's not like I'm conditioned by my culture to create silence. You know, society's about chit-chat, talk, the future, the past. So the noise of modern life, the internal noise of our minds, the endless chatter or fears or doubts or worries about the future, or memories of the past, unfortunate experiences of the past, or guilt or remorse about remembering things that were unskillful in the past. The past is only a memory. It's empty. It's not real, it has no heart or soul to it. The future is possibility, imagined. You know, so tomorrow is what we imagine right now. We make plans for tomorrow, but it's still imagination that we're getting, we're using. But if we investigate imagination, it rises and ceases in the present, here and now. Paccuppanna Dhamma, the reality of now, is like this. So then you do come up with a sense of, I'm nobody. I'm not a phenomenon. I'm not a person. It's all empty. I'm not anything. That's still thinking. I'm nobody. So you let go of being nobody, and you're still consciously aware, which includes everything. So being nobody is not a position to take as some kind of, to believe that you're nobody, but to see that even the belief I'm nobody is empty phenomena. It leaves you with nothing other than being here and now. Santitiko Dhamma, Akaliko Dhamma, Ehipassiko, come and see for yourself. So I offer this as a reflection for today.
Annamayang Dhammagatayo Tatamase Sadhu, 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 Anumodhami. self-chokun name? I think all of us would be totally amazed that you're not self-chokun your name.
Yeah, I'm now Prom Vajayan Paisan Vitet Sasnakin Vijit Dhammabati Pami Pasnayan Wongsa Vijit Rajamanit Vijaya Langkawan Mahakaniswan Bhavan Sangaram Kamawasi. That's really who I am. It's kind of ironic. When you're nobody, then they get titles like that.